Welcome back, YouTube. Today, as requested, and I don't know how I'm going to do this, but today I'm going to go through some of these boats and just walk the lot. And I'm going to pretend that you're here next to me and you're asking me, Lee, what do I do on this boat? What do I do on this boat? Is this one able to come back? And what do you do on here? What do you do here? So here we go, guys. We got a bunch of boats to look through. I don't know how many of these I'm actually going to look at, but let's just get into it. If you remember this boat, this is the Bayliner I did a demo on a while back, and I was trying to show you that you don't need to wet sand. So look at this. Tell me what you think you would do. Most people are freaked out and they're like, oh my God, you got to wet sand that thing for about 2 weeks before you get some color back. And I'm thinking, no, actually, it only took about 20-30 minutes to get this going. So the Gelcoat has no reflection whatsoever. There's the sun. Do you see any reflection at all? No. So if you don't see any reflection at all, you know that it's been oxidized for a super long time, meaning that there's not even a fresh finish underneath the oxidation. This tells me that you've got to at least start with heavy cut. You could sit here for a while longer with perfected or a lighter compound, but why? Why waste your time? Why waste the customer's time? Don't you have other boats to do? So if you see a boat like this with no reflection whatsoever, you know that you're going to have to get into it with a heavy cut. And don't worry, because stuff like this, if you accidentally burn off this part of the decal, I don't think that the customer's really going to fault you for it. It's not your fault. It's the boat's fault. It's time's fault. It's neglect's fault. Okay, moving on. This Sanger here has a black gel coat and kind of a, oh, what do you call this stuff? Flake. You know, like the old carnival rides when you got on the bumper cars as a kid. Anyway, it's got a really good shine to it, and you probably don't need to compound this. Now, if you were doing a ceramic coating or using restructured marine polish, I would suggest that you compound the nuts out of this thing just to make sure that it's absolutely perfect. Clean it, and then apply your sealant, ceramic, restructured marine, whatever. So when I see a boat like this, where even the swim step has a little bit of a shine to it, I generally kind of go, okay, that's just a wax, no big deal. Moving on, this boat has a decent shine to it. You could probably get away with flagship on the white, but the stripe up here is a little bit faded. That might take a little bit of compound, so I would just compound that section, flagship this, call it good. This one over here has a bunch of decals that were removed, and where the decals were, you can see a semblance of a shine, some semblance of a shine. But you know that it's going to leave a ghosting pattern and color in this after you hit it with a little bit of compound. So knowing that, go ahead and hit it with a lot of compound. And by a lot of compound, I mean some heavy cut. Get it down to where you can't really see the name in the gel coat anymore. And then hit it with some perfected. Then clean it, wax it. Okay, Wake Setter also has a really nice shine. There's really not much that I would suggest to this except for shoot the guy who came up with raised lettering, and whoever designed this needs to be dragged behind a truck for about an hour down a dark gravel road. Anyway, flagship, or 3M liquid wax, or Sureholds Pro Polish. Either one would do a really good job. Okay, here's a great boat. This is an average, hey, can you wax my boat? It's not in bad shape. So this is an MB boat, kind of a ski boat, wakeboard boat. He doesn't have a tower on it, but that doesn't mean that it's not a wakeboard boat or a ski boat. It's got a shine to it up forward. Back here's a little bit faded. So I would probably perfect it up to about the break in the hull, right up to about there. After that, I'd see if the reflection looked good enough that I could use flagship to kind of blend them together. Back here, I might use perfected also. It doesn't seem so dark or so deep that I can't get that out with a little bit of rubbing compound. Okay. Anytime you see something like this where there is a little bit of a reflection, but it's a dull reflection, you could probably get away with a little bit of perfected. And you can see, looking down the side, it's got a little bit of a shine to it. So while the top deck has nothing going on, you could bring this old weird boat back to, you know, a pretty decent condition with probably some heavy cut right about here, all that, probably some heavy cut right in here, and then finish it all with perfected. Now the bottom, you can probably perfect all that and then clean it and wax it. Yay, a bay liner. You guys love these things. I know you do. Why? Because they line the bay. It's not really true. They're a decent boat, I suppose, and you get a lot for your money. So If you find yourself with a bayliner, congratulations, you have a boat, and it's faster than you swimming. So don't listen to me when I trash talk bayliner. This boat has, well, not much of a reflection at all, and it's got some really janked up gel coat down here. So I would say heavy cut, heavy cut, heavy cut. Then perfect it, perfect it, perfect it, and then clean it, clean it, clean it, and wax it. So one of the things that I see a lot are these aluminum boats. Now this one in particular is owned by the local sheriff, so I'm not going to detail it because I didn't think that it was necessary to work on pontoons. Also, it's aluminum, so when people ask me, hey, what do I do with an aluminum boat? My first instinct is to tell them to recycle it. I think you get like 3 to 4 cents a pound. All right, moving on. This is another Malibu, or our first Malibu. Now, it looks like it has a decent shine to it, but if you get a little bit closer, you can see a little scuff there. There's a little dullness here. There's some scratches and stuff here. There's some dullness here. A little bit more back here. Lots of scratches here. So this is a probably heavy cut. Heavy cut should get rid of some of these, if not most of them. And then you come back over it with Perfect It. And then clean and wax. Doo-doo. Okay, Cobalt. Well, no Cobalts. They have great lines, great colors, but their gel coat being thick really, really oxidizes. And when the oxidation is showing, it means that it's fairly deep. So I would probably start, just to save some time, with some heavy cut, move to some Perfect It, clean and wax it. You guys noticing a theme? Generally, compound and wax. This boat has a decent shine. You can see a reflection. It's not decent, it's actually garbage, but you see the color in the reflection, how it's kind of white and then it goes down here to an orange. Tells me that this was buffed probably by the owner at one point, and he got this really well, but he didn't get down in this corner. So Perfect It, maybe even a little heavy cut to eat up some of the decal residue on the side here. But you might not. You might just use Perfect It. Always start with the least aggressive first, and then move into the more aggressive stuff if that doesn't seem to be working as fast as you thought it would. This little boat here has all sorts of stuff going on. I'm not obviously talking about the chips in the gel coat. That's just going to be the thing. We're just talking about gel coat and what I would do to it. So it's got a little staining down here. Obviously hit that with some muriatic acid, some hull cleaner. Definitely that'll clean all that up. And here, heavy cut, probably all the way up. It's pretty knackered up. Be careful around decals. Always try to put your buffer edge like right up in here and then right down here, and then on your last couple passes you can cover everything. The top side, ugh, yeah, it's a little trashed. So you might find that Perfect It works okay up here. And if it doesn't, you've always got heavy cut. Yay, another aluminum boat. I think you know what I'm saying. Recycle it, burn it. I know you guys like pontoon boats. I just hate ruining my buffer wheels, getting them all black and stuff. So I don't touch them. I've never touched them. This boat has a shine. You could probably use Perfect It on the top if you really wanted to bring it out. But you could also use Flagship if you wanted, or a light cleaner wax would probably clean this up. Now, cleaner waxes aren't going to last nearly as long as a compound job with a wax. But if you just need to get it done quick, fine, go ahead and do it. Here's another boat with no real reflection on the back, but it has a reflection looking down the side. So a light pass of Perfect It on the top, maybe a light pass of Perfect It on the bottom, clean it, wax it, you're good. Oh, goodness sakes, Baja. I know, Baja. I have fun with words. This one has a little bit of a sheen to it, little bit, but the color is completely faded out. Here's a repair that was done at the factory. You're never going to get that line to go away. You might be able to get the colors to match. You get the textures to almost match, but you're never going to get that line to go away. So don't even try. If you see stuff like this, just polish it up and move on. The stripe is really knackered up, and it's showing some weird three-dimensional, I don't know what you'd call it, oxidation ripples. So heavy cut. Heavy cut, heavy cut, heavy cut. And the top, probably a little bit of, heavy cut. All right, I'm gonna walk a little further down here. We got a Rinker. This is a fairly popular boat. I think we already looked at that one. We did. Okay, so looking at this red striped boat on the left, it's got a little bit of a shine on the hull. Not so much on the top side. So you guys figured it out already, right? It's perfected, clean, wax. Same thing here. This you could actually probably get away with it on the hull, just flagship or a light cleaner wax, and that would take care of it. I don't know what the top side looks like. It's got a cover on it, and I'm super lazy, so I'm not going to open that up. Obviously, this one has a great shine, good color. I'd probably just flagship this boat and call it good. I'm going to pause you for a second. Apologies, there was a little bit of wind kicking up, and I don't have anything to block the wind noise, so if you hear any, I do apologize. Okay, so this boat also, you can probably flagship the hull. The top side's showing a little bit of a gloss, but nothing substantial. So on the top side, a little bit of perfected, clean it, wax it. All right, moving on. Cobalt. Just inevitably know that you're going to have to, because most people who own Cobalts think they look perfect until they don't. In other words, they don't wax them until they start to degrade, which is why here you've got a little bit of a shine and then bleh, and a little bit of a shine and then bleh. So I don't know if he tried something right here or if this is a repair. It looks like a repair actually. So this is different gel coat than it is further back. Yeah, that's really interesting. So you got to pay attention to stuff like this, because if you're just looking at this front piece, you'd think, oh, I'm just going to flagship it, or I'm just going to light cleaner wax it. But if you travel back, boop, and then it gets ugly. So pay attention to the boat, look at the entire thing. As an example, this hull looks really good, but it's really kind of dull if you look at it from my perspective. Right up in this area, you're not getting a super sharp shine. I can see some dullness and some water spots. There's a couple scratches. And then in the hull, where they never waxed it, or they waxed it once and then just let it sit there, you see how dull it is down here? That all needs to be probably heavy cut, and then you got to finish that up with some perfected, and you can get it looking pretty good. Plus, you got to deal with this at some point. Those are always fun to deal with. So, perfect it, clean it, wax it. All right, another bayliner. This is a prime candidate on the top side for a little bit of perfected, because it does have, I'm not going to call it a shine, but we'll call it a gloss, kind of a sheen. But looking directly into the sun, it has nothing. So, you know that this is dry. You know, whoop, focus. There we go. You know that this is dry. You know it's going to take a lot of compounding to get it to come back, and when it does, there's no guarantee that these letters won't show up. So down here, use heavy cut until you see the lines and everything have all gone away and it's all blended in, it's all one color. And when you look at it in bright light, you can't see the word bayliner. That would be a bad thing. So after all that, you clean, and that's right, you wax it. Guys, OMG. What the juice? I could be mistaken, but this is like one of the first Mastercrafts ever built. Look at this thing. It's like 5 feet wide, obviously. Okay, going back, I'm losing track of what I'm doing here. Yeah, I would perfect this. I might even heavy cut the bottom just because it looks kind of trashed. The blue here has some scratches where you can tell that he cleaned it with the wrong type of brush. So maybe a little perfected, and the top side here, and perfected ought to take care of that. But wow, this thing's got to be like 30 some odd years old. That's insane. Huh, technology hasn't changed all that much. Neat. It's neat to see an old boat, like a classic boat. All right, Regal, what are you doing with my life? Ew, gross. Just gross. Heavy cut. Perfect it. Clean it. Wax it. Alright guys, I'm running out of boats here. Hey, an aluminum one. I suggest, yeah, it's not funny anymore, but recycle it. Okay, that's about it. There's a couple boats down that way, and there's a couple more way down there, and there's a couple more up behind those buildings over there. But now you've got an idea. When I look at a boat, honestly, very few of them are just a wax. Very few of them are just a cleaner wax. If, however, you're not capable or really good with compound, go ahead and use a cleaner wax. You'll get better with compound eventually, especially if you keep going through the motions with cleaner wax, because it leaves so many swirls and artifacts in your finish that you're going to have to get good at smoothing things and feathering things out. So, if you're constantly going to a cleaner wax, just know eventually you should step up to a decent amount of compounding. Most of these boats, if not all of them, in order to look their best, require a little bit of compound. And it doesn't take that long. I really want you to go back and watch what I did to this boat and see how long it took. It didn't take all that long. The longest part for me was up here. It was so dry that after I waxed it, it didn't pop. So I did something special. I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's kind of a trade secret. And I don't want a bunch of YouTube detailers getting any better than they are. Wink. So I'm not going to tell you what I did. But if you do it right, boats can come out like this every single time. And I promise you, your customers will appreciate it, you'll appreciate it, and if the boat could talk, the boat would appreciate it. So go crazy, use a little compound, and get a shiny boat. All right, guys, that's it. That's all I got. I appreciate your time. I hope this wasn't terribly boring. I hope you didn't fast forward through the entire thing. I was trying to give people some sense of what goes on in my head when I'm looking at a boat. By the way, if you see lichen in the surface, this is actually like a plant. It's not mold. This is mold, but it's also lichen. And there's one growing some color. That's impressive. 20 years this boat sat. 20 years out in the, desert, just getting fried. And yet, she came back. So don't be discouraged. Don't get nervous. If you find a boat that looks really trashed out, at least give it a chance. She might surprise you. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.